I'm going to show you how to crochet in a round. It's a little bit different to knitting. Well, obviously crochet is very different to knitting, but the way you do it is different, because with knitting you just go round and round and round and just keep knitting. You can't do that with crochet for two reasons. One is that there is a height to a crochet stitch. If you keep going round and round, you end up with a spiral and it'll get a bit twisted. It will also get twisted because if you look at the stitches, I've just worked from right to left on this row, and there's the end of it, and if you look at the stitch, the stem of the stitch is slightly to the left of where you put your hook in. And if you keep going round and round, they'll always be to the left and it will twist quite considerably. So unless you want that effect, it's not a good idea. So when you're crocheting around, you'll go back and forth as you normally do with a flat piece of crochet, and that way on one row the stitches will be to the left, and on the next row the stitches will be to the right. It'll go left, right, and that will keep it straight. You can of course crochet in a round and keep it flat, but I'm going to show you how to do a tube. So you get to the end of that row and you join it in. You can of course just do your foundation chain and join that, but I find it a lot easier to work one row straight first and then join together. So bend that round. Now with double crochet, sorry no, this is trebles. With trebles, double crochet if you're in the United States, you count the turning chain as one stitch. So we're going to slip stitch into the top of the turning chain. There's your first stitch there. There's your first stitch. There's your turning chain. And there's 3 chains in this turning chain, so we'll count 1, 2, 3. There's the third chain up. Yeah? There's the first stitch. There. And we'll slip stitch into that chain. So insert your hook, pull the yarn through that one, pull the yarn through that one, and we've got a tube. I'm going to do our turning chain, 3 stitches, 3 chain, 1, 2, 3. Okay. And we're not going to just carry on because, as I said, we'll get that twisted effect. You need to turn round. Now this is where it's difficult to actually decipher where your first stitch is. If you turn it back that way, and go back and work out exactly where we're going to put our hook, and that will be in this stitch here once we've turned it round. So we'll do that again. Slip stitch into there, make a note. Let's just take our hook out and we can make a note there that that one is the slip stitch, and that is the stitch we'll be going into when we turn round. So let's just do 3 chain, 1, 2, 3, turn it round. Let's look back and make a note again. That one is the slip stitch, that is the stitch we're going into. Okay, turn it round and then we can see exactly where that is. Okay, it's that one there. That one there. That's the slip stitch. That's the stitch we'll be going into. I've just undone one of those chains by mistake, so I'll just do that again. Okay. Into that stitch we'll do our treble, or as I said, double crochet if you're American. And then we'll go all along those stitches, whoops, all along those. Right to the end. So we've got to the end of that row. We're just going to work one more into that last stitch. But remember, we're doing trebles here, or double crochet if you're American. So we need to go into the turning chain. And the way to recognise the turning chain is it's the one you did your slip stitch into, and you can see there where we did the slip stitch. There's the slip stitch. So we've got to do one more into that, because when you work trebles you count the turning chain as one stitch. Okay, so we have to work into that one as well. Then we slip stitch into the top of the turning chain again. So there's the first stitch of the row we've just done. There's the turning chain. 1, 2, 3 into the top of the turning chain. Slip stitch to join the ends of the rows together. 3 chain. Now you've got a note here, which is the slip stitch. That is your slip stitch, you don't work into that. That is your first stitch. We miss out the first stitch because we're counting the turning chain at the end of the row as a stitch, otherwise we'll end up with too many stitches. So we're going to turn the work round and have a look at that from the other side. That is not a stitch, that is your slip stitch. That's your first stitch which you miss out. So we work into that stitch. You'll find a note at the end of this video. If you find the concept of a turning chain and missing stitches out a little bit confusing, there'll be a reference at the end of this video where you can, a website you can go to which explains in simple terms all about the turning chain. So you carry on like that, row after row, round and round and round. Very useful if, like me, you don't like sewing up seams. So when you do a jumper you can do up to the armpits by working in a round, and that'll save you having to do any sewing up.